community, welcome back to another video here with Kyle Chris, and today we're actually going over a recap of my weekend's regional run with Hatchhyack. So we ended up placing, I think, 36th, I believe. We ended up going X3. I lost my last two matchups, which kind of took me down from table 4 all the way down, to the bottom there. So fortunately, we did not get top 32. I wanted to get top 16. I actually think we probably could have got top 16 if our matchups were a little better. I don't know if that's the right actual terminology for it. I didn't have bad matchups, but this deck, I built this deck exclusively to beat red, and I played against 0 red decks the entire day. Actually, I didn't play against any blue decks really. I played against 2 blue decks, one not so blue deck, but then I played against 1 actual blue deck. I mainly played against yellow most of the day. So it was just kind of weird that I didn't play against red. I think if we double back and if I end up playing against maybe 1 or 2 red decks, which this deck thrashes red decks, I probably could have got top 16. So that's okay. It happens. It's part of the name of the that is the name of the game. So, but I did have a lot of fun. I know people think it's hard to have fun playing Hatchhyack, but I like playing control games. I really like control leaders, and if there was a better black leader that I can play control with, I probably would play it. But there really just isn't too much out there for black to play. So we'll go over the list, the side deck and the Z deck as well. I'll do a little bit about my matchups, but I did record all of my matchups except for my round 7. That wasn't even a contestant. It wasn't even a contest for me. I ended up just kind of scooping, I think, after 5 turns because I just drew so horribly and I couldn't do anything, and I already lost advantage after that. So there wasn't much I could do in a best of 1. So for Hatchhyack, if you guys don't know, Hatchhyack has a built-in flying nimbus essentially, where when a battle card attacks, that player cannot attack with battle cards or tokens that cost 7 or less that haven't attacked for the duration of the turn. So essentially, if your opponent attacks with a big battle card like an 8-drop or something, and then they try to play a 2-drop or a 3-drop and something with it, they cannot do that. It happens quite a bit. There's a lot of newer players to the game. People didn't play against this deck. If you sit down across from someone you play against Hatch and they say, "Hey, I've never played against your deck before," probably not going to go their way, unfortunately. So this is just something you have to, because this deck, it's also another reason why I really like this leader, is that this leader completely changes how someone has to play the game. And that is really cool to me, that a leader has so much impact that completely changes how somebody plays the game, which is why I like it. So on this side, you cannot attack, but activate main, you place the top card under your deck. From your deck, under this card, you then mill the next card of your deck, and then you draw one. And so, which is nice, because then you are allowed to basically draw a card every turn without having to attack your opponent, which is really good. You awaken when you have 3 cards underneath him, and you have no black cards. You only have black cards in your energy, which is kind of weird. So it kind of throws off your early game a little bit. You're not able to play like red or blue early on. You have to play black. Then you put the 3 card underneath him in the drop. You draw one and you flip. Same effect of the floodgate on this side, but now when you attack, you gain 5k when you attack. So that's about it. Very, very basic. The leader doesn't do, that. I would say the leader doesn't do a lot, but the leader does a ton. But his effects are pretty, after the floating nimbus thing, you're just drawing a card once per turn. So that is the leader. We'll go over the main deck. The main deck is 59 cards. Honestly, that it might have played a factor a little bit. The games that I lost, the 3 games that I lost, were really just, I just didn't draw the card that I needed, while the other games I did draw that card. So you can probably cut it down by 3 cards, which is probably what I'll end up doing. And honestly, again, this build was primarily to deal with red and yellow, and I completely forgot the fact that I'm playing in NA, and a lot of North American players play blue. Like, blue is the most popular color in our region, without a doubt. And I didn't take that I took that into consideration a little bit, mainly with the side, but I thought my main deck would hold up enough against it. But again, I didn't play against red, so I was forcing myself to play against blue, and blue and Hatchhyack, it's not a great combination, so you're kind of playing always on the back foot. So all right, so first thing is we have 4 of the Son Goku making an entrance. And to pair that, we have for Power Burst, these are your main negates. This is just a 1-drop negate. I wish this had 5k combo power. I don't know why Bandai printed this with 0 combo power. Because they have printed way better negates, like, you know, Android 17 negate. Even like the Whis promo, like all of those cards were printed and had combo power. I don't know why they gave us no combo power. Very, very silly. Hopefully they reprint something like this and they can give it 5k combo power. Then you have Power Burst. You can get this card back from the drop or the warp, and you can Sparking 5 this card to do instead of paying an energy. So the big part in like red matchups, like Gogeta is a matchup that a lot of people are scared of when you play. Hatchhyack actually completely demolishes Gogeta as long as you open correctly. You open up with one of these and one of these, you negate every one of your opponent's swings for the first 3 turns. They don't draw. It's very easy. It's very easy. Gogeta is not a threat in this against Hatchhyack, but again, just didn't play against it, so I was kind of upset about that. But that's your main 8-card combo there. For some more defense, we ran 4 of the Crimson Warrior Strikes. I actually hate this card. I wanted to play. This is what I was playing in testing. I was playing Unbreakable because I like the fact that Unbreakable goes to the Z energy. The problem that I found is that I would draw into this and I wouldn't have anything to charge, and I can't charge off color. So that part kind of sucked. So that was the reason why we cut the Unbreakable for Realm. So Realm is still very good. It's a one drop, draws you a card. You can burst 3 if you want to, or you can use it on offense to warp something higher than your opponent's energy. That part came into effect. I needed to find more ways of actually warping my opponent's cards. I think that's kind of why I lost a lot of my steam in some of the games that I lost, because I wasn't able to get enough of their cards in the warp. But this card, very powerful, very powerful card. I just didn't want to play it in Hatchhyack, but we ended up going with it just because it's on color. For some more warping, this is the rest of our warping package. You have 2 Gohan combos, 3 Lord Slug, Ghost Warrior, and then 1 Finn. So the combination of these cards here, this is kind of what you use to control your opponent's board. The name of the game when you're playing Hatchhyack is to control your opponent's board as much as possible, and these cards allow you to do that. So Gohan, you can combo this, and after you combo it, you Z-charge it, and then you warp something 4 or less on your opponent's side of the board. Very powerful card, hits anything 4 or less, and that's very impressive. Also acts as a negate from the drop or the warp. You take a life in bottom deck 1, and then it can negate a battle card attack. So one thing that I did, I didn't do it today, but I did it against a lot of time in testing, is you would negate with like a Power Burst or a Goku or one of the other negates in the deck. You're playing against a yellow deck, they use counter, and then you can just play this from the drop in the auto window, and then this card would essentially stop the attack. We have 3 of the Lord Slug cards. This is your way of getting rid of big battle cards. So you play this for free. It bottom decks 3 cards between 3 and 7 from your deck, from your drop area. Go into the bottom of your deck, and you can activate main. You send this card to the drop, warps a battle card higher than your opponent's energy. So this is a way of getting rid of big battle cards. The same thing with Realm, it's just a different way of doing it. And then Finn, it's got Deflect, comes in. Your opponent chooses one of their battle cards. Everything else gets sent to the warp, as long as it doesn't have barrier, of course. So this card's actually really good. I think I side one, but I probably should have main 2 of this, because this card actually would have been very helpful in a lot of my matchups. I just didn't want to run a lot of 2 drops in the main deck, because you want to make sure you have copies of 3 and 7 for your Lord Slug effect, so you can use that. So, but Finn definitely came in clutch. I think I have one of the matchups, because I did record, I did record most of my matchups. 6 out of my 7 matchups I recorded. I think one of my matchups, this card actually won me the game. I was able to turn the value of what my opponent had on board, and just completely removed everything, and then kind of stunted his value for the rest of the game. This is kind of what we use to get rid of warp stuff, or to warp stuff rather. Unison is Bardock. Wish there was a better Unison to play, honestly. I was testing with another Unison. There's just not a lot of good black Unisons, unfortunately. This is the best one just because it draws us a card. it is susceptible to just getting completely just pummeled by your opponent, whether they're going to remove it with Black Smoke, whether they're going to remove it with battle cards, attacking at it, this card just dies. But you have to run it because it is another way of getting around your leader effect, since Unisons aren't, you know, they're not affected by your leader effect. And then it draws you one. Realistically, the Mira Unison would be the perfect Unison to play in this deck, because it's a 20k and it's got 2+1s. Problem with that card is that it plays tokens. You can't play tokens in this deck, and then you have to warp a skillless on your board to actually gain the effect, and you don't play skillless. So both of those, you have to remove it from the game. I'm sorry. So it sucks, unfortunately. -2 on this comes up. Your opponent has to warp a card every time they want to attack. This and like a negate will basically shut off your opponent's turn. This card just gives you a lot of defense. I just wish the +1 was a +2 or something. That way this Unison had some chance of surviving. This is the Vegeta that we run. I do not run Vegeta Super Combo. We'll actually show you why probably in a second here. But this is Vegeta making an entrance. So this card, look, the Vegeta cards you have to use for your fusion material for this deck suck, right? I don't want to use Vegeta Super Combo. For a reason I'll show you probably with the next set of cards here. But this is good. So for one, this is a 15k 1-drop. It's a counter. It doesn't do anything. You can only play this in the counter window. It's very stupid. But when you play it, you cycle back 3 battle cards that cost 3 or more, or have 35k power or less. So it's essentially every battle card in your deck that's cost 3, between 3 and 8. So it actually hits your Gogetas, which every Hatch deck plays. That's not a surprise. But you can shuffle. You can put those back in the bottom of your deck. And it is a 15k body. It has unique technically in the permanent. Just an old way of having unique. But you can play this, and then this is a 15k battle card you can use to swing. The other part of why this is good is that you can get this back off of Power Burst, which is the main reason why I play it. Is that way, because once you use Gogeta, this and your Goku goes to the warp, and generally you're gonna have more Gokus. But if you don't have a Vegeta, you can't play another Gogeta. So being able to just Power Burst and just grab this back. Sometimes I would grab this back over Goku because it's a 5k combo. So and also, if you do play this, don't charge it. You'll see in one of my games, I think it was against King Piccolo, which was one of my final rounds. It's actually the matchup I felt pretty confident going into it, but I didn't see a Vegeta to fuse because I charged the only one that I saw, and that was my mistake. You should never charge your Vegeta until you see a second one. So that was a big mistake. I learned my lesson though. But that's the Vegeta that we play. All right, now we have our Shadow Dragon package. So we have 4 Oceanus, 3 of the Sin, we have 4 Oceanus Super Combo, and we have 3 Nova Shinron. So this is probably the spiciest thing in the deck that's new for some Hatch players. So Oceanus and Sin, we kind of know what these cards are about. These are played in a lot of different Hatchhyack builds. But this is not. And I think this is what made my list so much different than other lists, and probably why I was so successful early on in the day. I mean, I think I was like 5-0, 6-0 at one point. Or yeah, 5-0. Oh, no, 5? I don't know. It was something like that. It was a long day. So Oceanus Super Combo, it doesn't do anything special. It's a Sparking 5, right? So this is important. So we don't run any Overwhelms in the deck, but having a Sparking 5 Super Combo, very powerful, right? Which is why I don't play Vegeta. So there's, for 2 things. One, there is a lot of aggro in this particular format, and even if you are hatched, you are still going to be. People are going to, if you don't negate an attack, they're going to try to make that that attack count, right? And if you're at 5 life, it's very easy to take you to 3, to take you to 4, even with a crit, because if you run Vegeta Super Combo, those are 0 cost until you have 4 life, right? At 4 life, that card's great. Before 4 life, it's not good. Gogeta GT matchup, right? You don't want to be taking more than maybe 1 Gogeta swing. And if you can keep yourself at 7-8 life and deal with Gogeta that way, that's great. It doesn't always happen that way. But having this guy live, probably past turn 2, very powerful, okay? Just keeps you from having to take your life. Most games, I sat at 6-7 life until I decided I wanted to take life by using Power Bursters or just letting my opponent hit me for 1. So this card just allows you to do that. Okay, now why do we play Nova? So Nova is a card that probably none of you have actually even seen unless you play the Black Sin deck like I have. The top effect is for Black Sin. We don't need that. The bottom effect, though, You send this card from your drop from your hand to your warp. You burst 1. You search top 5 for any black Shadow Dragon that costs 5 or less. So all of these cards here are searchable. So you have a searchable super combo now. You can search out Oceanus, which is incredibly powerful. You search out this 4-drop Barrier Blocker Deflect Double Striker, or you can search out copies of Nova itself. Okay. Also, this card fuels your warp, which you need for your Kai Negate that you play, because I don't run Overrun. So having these cards in your warp, helpful. Yeah, I thought this was a very, very, very fun package. The bursting off the top of this, sometimes I've hit really, really important cards. That part sucks. So we might have to adjust some of the ratios so I can at least hit some more Shadow Dragons. I did whiff maybe once or twice the entire day. But like if you have an Oceanus, one of these in your hand, you're probably not going to use this, right? The other effect of why I like this card is that we have cards that put stuff at the bottom of our deck. Android 21 puts stuff at the bottom of your deck. I want to be able to shuffle my deck so I have access to those cards again. Nova allows you to do this. You can possibly just cycle a card and then you get to shuffle your deck, which Black Sin or Hatch doesn't have a lot of those options. So I just wanted a free option as well. That's why this is good, because this is a free card from hand. So, Oceanus, we know what it does. Half of my games I probably won because of Oceanus just being so effective. You have to mill 4 whenever you attack. And we have the 4-drop Sin. Never came in. I wanted to play it. The matchup that I wanted to play it in, it never felt right. Which is against Golden Frieza or Blue decks, being able to use this to remove Unisons. Because you can remove Unisons that have 2 markers on it, but that have 3 or 4. You need to play a battle card that can stick, has double strike, and that can't be counterplayed or bottom deck by Boo or things like that, right? This also has an activate main or battle. You can restand it. Your opponent mills a card, and you can activate a Shadow Dragon extra card that costs energy cost of 2 or less for free. Doesn't come up in this deck, but in Black Sin it does, but we mainly use that to restand it. And then Bardock Spirit Boost effect. If you take a marker off of Bardock using a Spirit Boost, you can choose 1 battle card in your opponent's drop and warp it. Just allows you to continue to add stuff to your opponent's warp. So very cool tech. I think this is if you're playing Sin and you're not playing even honestly, if you're playing the mill version of Sin with Black Smoke, you should probably still play this card just so you can search out Oceanus. And what's nice to know is this card is not leader locked, it's not color locked, so this can be used in any single deck. You just have to search. It only searches out Black Sin cards or Black Shadow Dragon cards. All right. Now for a bunch of 2-of techs. Hatch is known for having just a bunch of 2-ofs. So you have 2 King Vegeta. Card's okay. Did win me one of my matchups, but you can only play it if your opponent has 3 or more cards in the warp. You play it, you get to snipe a card from your opponent's hand or warp a card on board. I like sniping from hand. It's much more powerful. And then when this card's in rest mode, if your opponent attacks your leader, you have to warp 1 card from their hand, and that is just once per turn, unfortunately. So it's not a huge floodgate. Also, it's a 6 cost, so you can put it back by Slug. 2 Deborah. This is for any deck that plays a really, really big boss monster that has deflect, but no barrier. So this card hits Vegeta Secret Rare, it hits Beast Gohan, hits Cell Xeno, hits the 8-drop from Android 21. So this is kind of cool. So it did not come up in my Android 21 matchup, just because I didn't feel like playing into a Koizukai that he already played. But this card comes down. This card actually comes down before 21 actually hits the board. So you can actually play this without being punished by the Android 21 counterplay, where like if you activate a counterplay, you have to pitch 2 cards or something. So you actually can play this before the card comes down. The auto will still go off, even though 21 will probably get rid of this card. But your opponent can't activate their skills or attack for the duration of the turn. So what will happen is when they play 21, you play this, target the 21, this card will go away or whatever. That card can't attack, and they don't get the restand 5 energy. So, yeah, very, very cool tech. This is very, very good. Also, like I said, just for like Vegeta Secret Rare, that's another very good one. Or if you're playing like an Amir or a deck that plays like Black Smoke, you can play this on Black Smoke, and they can't activate the activated main. So, very, very good card. What sucks about this card is that it is reduced in hand and in the drop by 1. So it's a 2 cost, but it's also a 2 cost in the drop, which means you can't recycle it by Lord Slug, which I think is really stupid. I don't know why Bandai printed it that way. There's literally no other reason for it that I can think of. 2 Black Smoke. This I should have ran at 3. I was actually testing this card as a 4-of, and it felt amazing. I think I just cut it to make room for other stuff, and I shouldn't have. I should have kept this as at least a 3 of. Being able to warp Unisons, warp battle cards with barrier is very powerful, and I needed to do it more. So I should have probably ran 3 of that. And then 2 Kai. This is actually probably the worst performing card in the entire deck, at least my version of the deck. This card sucks in this particular version of the deck because my opponent doesn't warp cards, and if I can't get my opponent to warp cards, then I'm failing as the pilot, obviously, right? But then this card has to then be cast for 3 instead of 1. If you or your opponent have more than 3 cards in the warp, it costs 1. In other version of the deck, because you would run Overwhelm, this wasn't a problem. You can play this whenever you wanted to. It's kind of a dead card now. So I've been charging it. I need to find a better way of piloting the deck, with ways of getting stuff in the warp, and then I can use this card. I know of a few options, so we might end up adding that in at some other point. Some more negates. We have 2 petrification. Didn't use it that much, but this is another way of just turning off your opponent's effects. Very good against like the 8-drop Goku that taps down energy. You can hit him with this, and then their auto doesn't proc. Works against Cooler. Works against Android 21. Powerful black negate. I think I only ran 2 because I didn't have another one of these. I think that's really realistically why I didn't run it. My brain just was like, yeah, I'll just run 2 of them. So hopefully I'm gonna end up getting more of these, but this probably should be a 3 of in the deck. Fu mission accomplished. I'm probably gonna run it at 4, honestly. Just to have it. This card saved my butt so many times. Just being able to just sack this card off from the drop. So you tap 2, you remove this card from the game. You can add any battle card that costs 7 or less back to your hand. So the main 2 targets, obviously, probably really easy to tell, is that guy. But then also you grab like your super combo. So either one of these are like your best 2 targets. You're just paying 2 to get this back, paying 2 to get this back, and you can do that obviously 3 times, right? So there's games I probably Oceanist 5-6 times. There's games that I had like 7 super combos technically because I would just use these to just get all these back. So there's a lot of usage in this card. So I'm probably going to bump it up. I'm probably going to buy a 4th one because I actually don't own a 4th one. And if I play Hatch again, we're going to run 4 of. Alright, so we're down to like our last cards here. Basically most of the boss monsters. So I ran 2 Dark Mask King. So this card, in theory, I love this card. So it's very, very good against blue, which is the main reason why you play it. So it's a 25k deflect, triple strike. Card swings, you get the warp 2 battle cards from your opponent's drop, and if they counterplay this card, your opponent you get to choose one of your opponent's life and send it to the warp. That's once per turn. It also will restand if they have 10 or more cards in the warp, and then you can swing again. The problem is that Kusu is a card, and I'm pretty sure Kusu hits 6 cost. I have to reread the card. I'm pretty sure it does so. Which, it's not fun tapping 4 for this, and then Kusu bottom decks this, and then you bottom deck a card from hand. So it never came in the Android 21 matchup. And I didn't play against any other blue decks that weren't 21, so I didn't have a chance to test it. But in Gamma, you can play this against Gamma. Use this to swing into their Unison, and like you can use this twice to just like remove. You basically just can pop their Unison, right? Also good into yellow. So as long as they don't have like the Sin TP down, you can play this card pretty safely. Swing into their Unison. If they release from evil, if they time magic, it doesn't matter. You get to at least burn them alive. Anything else about it? You have to have 3 or more cards in your opponent's warp again for to play it, and you play it for 4. So this card is very powerful. I just wish it was for 2 things. One, I wish the counter skill was just on the board. So like as long as this card's on board, if your opponent activates the counter skill, you have to warp a card from it. Like that would have been really cool. The fact that it has to be this card's attack, meh, it's a little bad. And also wish this card had barrier. So yeah, card sucks. 3 Gogeta. This is your big boss monster. This is your hand control basically for the deck. So you play this guy for 4, you swing. Opponent has to warp 2 cards on board, ignoring barrier, and 2 cards from their hand. And this card swings 3 times. You only get the warp effect off the first attack. Restands. If this card is in rest mode, it cannot be KO'd by your opponent's skills. So there's a lot of games where I will play this card. I'll swing into a battle card. They'll warp the 2 battle cards, probably the one that I attacked. Another one, and then they warp 2 cards from hand, and then I'll just pass. And then you can do that. You can literally just rip someone's hand completely down. And with our next card here, it makes it even better because they're going to have, a lot less cards in hand, which is going to be golden Golden Cooler. So this is your secret rare. This is a secret rare that I feel like most people should play and hatch. Black Smoke is very good. It is very good. I have my Black Smoke here. So Black Smoke is very, very good. I love this card, but I wasn't trying to do the mill strategy. The mill strategy is very good. There are certain matchups where it's not very good, especially if you play against green, which I ended up playing against more green decks today than I played against red decks. It's just wild. But any deck that just doesn't draw a ton of cards, Black Smoke's just not worth it, right? Also, if you can play Black Smoke, if you cannot mill them out that particular turn, and you need to mill them out that turn because you can't survive the next turn, Black Smoke's not going to do much for you, right? This card will literally reset the entire game, and this card makes you have an advantage, right? You can just play this card literally almost at any point in the game, and as long as this card doesn't get counterplayed, you're probably going to win that game. Every game that I won, as you guys will see in the videos, I played this card. Every game that I won, I saw it. If I didn't see it, I lost essentially. But what's cool is that you can play this guy. It warps their board. They go down to 5 cards in hand. Every other card that they discard goes to their Z energy. And then this card, when you activate Man or Battle, you restand this card. You choose 2 cards in their Z energy, put them in the drop, and then this card can just continue to swing. And also, it does gain barrier the turn that it's played. So this card is absolutely nuts. Thought about running Black Smoke, but it just felt better to run the Golden Cooler. So the combo is like you can play this, and then like the next turn you can play Gogeta and swing with this. And now they have 5 cards in hand. They're going to go down to 2, if not less than that. And you're playing a hand control deck. So last card is just the Trunks. You use Trunks to get back Golden Cooler if you mill it. That's really the only purpose of it. You can use it to get back other things, like if you really just need like an Oceanus or something, you can use it to get back Oceanus. If you don't have a Foo, but you'll probably just use the Foo for that instead. So, but that is the main deck. And we will go over the Z deck first. That's a little bit quicker. So we ran 1 Pan, 2 Surmounting, 1 Goku because I didn't have a 4th Boo, and 3 Boos. So Pan is probably the most unique one. I didn't play this card. Don't play it. It's not good. So this should technically just be a 4th Boo. So we're just going to count it as a Boo. Pan, activate main. You have Bond 3 with cards that have Xeno in their character name. So you literally just need 2 cards that have Xeno in your name. Gogeta, King Vegeta, both have Xeno in their name, and then all of the Shadow Dragons also have Xeno in their name, including the 1-drop Vegeta and the 1-drop Goku. So you have a ton of Xeno cards you can play, and then she also counts for it too, so you just need 2. But then you get to warp any of your opponent's battle cards. This card did come in, I think in 1 and 2 are my games, but it's just another card you can use to just remove stuff. And it goes to the warp, which is important because you can add stuff to your opponent's warps, and you can play out your bigger cards. Surmounting came in a few times. I generally use it to, the idea of it is to, if I'm playing against like Trunks Vegeta or something like that, and I need to like pop my opponent's Trunks effect, I can just play this and use it for that. You also can take a life and draw a card if you want to, just to cycle. So that is also important. And then for Boo, technically, Boo is fantastic. So you play Boo. You sack another Z energy, you can absorb any card on board, and then this card gains 20k until the end of your opponent's turn. Now it is a 1-drop 25k blocker, or a 1-drop 25k attacker, which is mainly what we use it for. This card is very easy to remove in a lot of matchups. If the card stays on board for more than 1 turn, this card is a menace. And you're just going to continue to remove cards every single turn. You can only do it once per turn, so you can't activate more than 1 of these in a turn, which kind of sucks, but this card is very, very good. Would recommend playing it at 4 and not playing the Goku, because the Goku is not very good. All right, so for the side deck. So again, my main deck was mainly built to deal with red. I tried to fit as much yellow and blue cards in my side as possible. Worked out some matchups, didn't work out in other matchups. 1 Ghost Warrior, I wish I would have ran 2. This is for 21. Honestly, this card kind of stops your opponent from playing the 8-drop. Most of the time I want my opponent to play the 8-drop, so then I can play Deborah and make them waste the energy, so that way they don't get it back, right? Ghost Warrior just kind of puts it out there so your opponent won't play the 8-drop and they kind of play around it. And that card's a 10k free combo, so like it's still just an important card in their hand, but probably would just play it at 2. That way I can at least see it, and then you can just grab it back with Power Burst. 2 Jiren, 2 Gohan. This was just more my blue hate. I thought about it afterwards, but I should have sided in Jiren, or I should have used the Jiren in my 21 matchup, because you can play Jiren when they Kusu, and you can't put cards at the bottom of your deck, so you can still like you don't have to waste a card from hand. And this card will draw you a card, because most 21 players aren't playing Turning the Tide from what I've seen. They're playing the Perfect Force in the side. So if you play this and they Kusu you, you don't have to bottom deck a card for the turn. And if there's any other cards that bottom deck stuff, so like the 14 Android 14 or 13 negate that Gamma plays, I'm pretty sure if you play this when they play, you can probably do it when they play the 13 negate, but you can continue to swing because you're not going to bottom deck cards. I'm pretty sure that this card overrides the Android 13 effect. I'm sure someone will rule book me in the comments if I'm wrong, but that's what I was told. And then 2 of the Gohans for other blue matchups that are not 21, just so that they have to pay energy, they have to pay life to sorry, to have to use D-Magic. 3 Dragon Slaying Bullet. This is for the Golden Frieza matchups. When they play Gohan, you counterplay with this, and now they get 1 attack that turn because they're not going to get rid of their Unison, which is the other effect. The bottom effect, activate main or battle. Your opponent chooses one of their battle cards and they warp it. That costs less than the number of cards in their drop. The card actually came up, I think, 2 or 3 times. So you guys will see that. That was a pretty cool card. 2 Kami. This was sort of a last-minute add to my sideboard. Again, this was going to be for Gamma and Trunks Cheetah because they have a lot of blockers and a lot of cards with, or not blockers, but they spam the board out even against Hatch, and they also have a bunch of stuff with Barrier. So being able to play this and then tap 2 more and just blow everything up would have been very, very cool, but I didn't play against either one of those decks, so yay me. 1 more Finn would have come in against Red Sin. Should have came in against 21. I don't know why I didn't side it in. Probably because I was already done with the day. 2 Broken Seal. This is just another card for, God, literally any matchup. You can just play this in and just call whatever and not have to deal with it. Mainly for Golden Cooler, I would say. Golden Cooler and 21. Probably the 2 big ones here. Also, this card can shuffle your deck. You activate main, you can look through your deck for a Dark Dragon Ball. Just, fail to find, but then you get to shuffle your deck. Last 2 cards. Complete Tech Spice. Not a great pick, but I loved playing it when I got to play it. So 4 drops Shinron. This is a very cool card. This is from the starter deck for Shinron. So 4 drop has no defense, which is the problem with it. This card had Deflect or even Barrier. This card would be probably slotted into the main deck. But this card can attack. Where the card gains value is the activate main. So Sparking 5. Activate main, you draw a card, and you get to choose one of the following effects. You either get to restand 2 energy, which is the main reason why you play it. You can play a 2-drop or less from the drop area, or you give your leader or a battle card 5k in crit for the duration of the turn. So we'll go over the first effect. So this was mainly a card to play into Golden Frieza. Golden Frieza lacks removal other than their Overwhelm or their Secret Rare, or if stuff is in rest mode, right, with Gohan. So other than that, they're not really removing stuff that's just in active mode. So being able to smack this card down, activate main, restand 2, draw 1, and then have 2 open for your Oceanus. Very powerful. The longer this card stays on the board, this makes your Cooler and your Gogeta cost 2 less. So basically you can slam Golden Cooler down for 5, Shinron, draw another card, and then restand 2 energy so you have 2 up. Gogeta then costs 2. So this is very good. Second effect is you can play a 2 or less from your drop area. So you can play things like Gohan, Ghost Warrior, and Kami from your drop, and all of these cards will draw on play. So it's basically a draw 2 for free, right? You also can play Broken Seal from the drop area, which then it would gain its effect if you did not play it the turn before. But you can play this card and you can still gain the effect. So then if this card stays on the board for like 3 turns, you can play 2 of these without having to pay the energy for it, which is very cool. The bottom effect, you give your leader or a battle card 5k in crit for the turn. Both of these cards swing multiple times, so it's also a way of being able to basically can hand control your opponent. If you actually can crit, you actually can give this card crit and swing with it, you're probably going to win that game. You're probably going to win that game anyway, so it's more like a win more card. And this becomes a 40k triple attack crit. This becomes a 45k double strike crit that can swing almost infinite amount of times. So that was kind of the point. It really was literally only for that one matchup. So I probably would have sided it out. I probably should have kept Deborah in my side deck, which was my main side deck card that I had. That I took out. I think I put Kami in instead for it. But I should have took this out to put in Deborah, because Deborah actually would have helped me in one of my matchups. So, but that was my hatch deck for matchups. I'll go over the matchups. I won't go over the matches too much in depth, because you guys can check those out in the videos, because those will be up probably after this video comes out. The rest of the week, I'll probably put out at least try to put out like one a day. But first matchup was Green Gogeta. Ended up taking away his win con. You guys will see that in the video, but we ended up winning that one. Second match was against Golden Frieza. I actually milled my secret rare, and I also didn't see Trunks, so the whole game I was just kind of fighting to stay alive, and didn't work out. So if I had Golden Cooler, I probably would have won that game. Third round was, I want to say my third round was Invoker. I want to say no. Third round was Android 21 Expert deck. So I don't really consider that a blue deck. It's more of a green deck because it's a hand destruction deck. But I ended up killing him off of Golden Cooler. I was very surprised that I won the game actually. Round 4 was against Invoker. I ended up winning that game in time. I hate winning in time. It's not very fun. I feel no progress winning in time. But that was a really fun game. We just kind of messed around the whole time because we were both playing really stally control decks. So it was fun. It was fun. Next round, I played against a yellow Bobbity promo leader. That was pretty cool. I think he ended up milling himself out. So, you know, that happens. The round after that, I played against a yellow Majin Vegeta. Kind of the same thing. He actually didn't know how to play. He said he never played against Hatch before, which, again, is never a good sign. But I believe he ended up milling himself out. He actually ended up milling himself out on his own terms on that one. The sixth round was against Green King Piccolo, which I felt like I was prepared because I played against the deck before, but I did not see Golden Cooler until it was completely unnecessary to play, which you guys will watch. You guys see the video. I think that match was actually on stream, the very, very end of it. Yeah, shout out to the content creators who were doing the stream. They skipped over like 4 of my games. All of my good ones they skipped over, but then they watched me get thrashed by King Piccolo. That's fine. Let me see what else. Anything else from that matchup? Don't think so. Deborah would have helped out a lot in that matchup, but again, I didn't expect to see green. I saw 2 green decks and played against 1 red deck. It wasn't even like Sin or Gogeta, which was just odd. And then my round 7 was against 21. I did absolutely nothing for 5 turns. And I told him if I didn't draw my secret rare, I was going to scoop. I didn't draw my secret rare. I scooped. I wasn't able to do anything. He had like 6-7 cards on board. I didn't see anything to actually warp his cards. It was really pathetic. So deck failed me a few different games there, but overall performed well. You know, was able to at least get 36th place. So it was fun. Definitely considering playing Hatch again for the next one, but we would have to tinker the deck to deal with blue, because I don't know why my brain just decided to not just do all of the blue stuff that I wanted to do, because I knew I was going to play against a bunch of blue decks, and my brain was so focused on beating Gogeta and Sin, which this deck 9 times out of 10 you're thrashing Gogeta in Red Sin when you play. If you play this particular type of list, it beats those decks. It's not even a challenge for most of them. Gogeta a little bit more so than Sin, but both of them are pretty easy to beat as Hatch. So that is the deck profile here for you guys. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the videos that will be coming out from the weekend regionals. And like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.